My name is Kirsten.
My name's Alexa.
My name is Jacqueline.
My name is Chengjin.
My name is Joey.
And this is our intercultural communication group project. Our table of contents. We'll be talking about history and the language, values, identity, family, structure, and conflict, and emerging population, modern culture, folk culture, and traditions. So, the only true wisdom is knowing you know nothing, which is by Socrates.
Socrates.
Socrates, yes, thank you. Okay, so like I said, I'll be going through the history on Greek culture. So the ethnic and religious demographics. 90% of people in Greece's mainland and Greek islands are Christian, Orthodox, Muslims, Catholics, Jews, and other minorities make up the majority of religion of the people. The origins of Greek. Greeks have lived in Greece since the independence 1821 and Cyprus, which is an island in the eastern Mediterranean Sea, and the areas they ruled and composed are part of modern Greece today. So, did Greek colonize another culture or group? So, Greek colonized many areas, and one of the many being the Black Sea coast. So, another historical event of discrimination was the Mycenaeans, which are also known as the Kings, reinforced social inequalities with Mycenaean society. So, significant historical event. So, in 776 BC, the first Olympics was held and did lots of physical activity as described in the slides. So, one interesting fact is that in ancient Greece, politics and government were conducted out in the open, so the citizenry was involved at all steps. Another is that the ancient Greece government system of Athens is considered the first democracy in the world and the the model for our modern system. So, known as the greatest of all poets, such as the Odyssey and Iliad. So, second important leader and hero was Plato. His most famous contributions were his theory of forms, the Platonic Republic, and Platonic love. So, in what ways does the history of Greek influence the identity of group members today? Greek society was traditionally dominated by men, and in ancient Greece, women had no political rights and were ruled by men. The watermill, water clock, the Torsen catapult, automere, and screw pass were among the greatest Greek inventions. Greeks were the first to establish theater. As a part of the Marshall Plan following World War II, the United States provided hundreds of millions of dollars to Greece to help rebuild its buildings, agriculture, and industry. So, notable achievements of Greece: 1821 War of Greek Independence, Greek's traditional artwork, the Odyssey, Oxy Day, aka Day of No, the Parthenian, and the ancient theater of Epidurus. Okay. So.
All right, the second part is about language. Next page, please. Language. Modern Greek, also known as Neo-Hellenic, streaming from medieval Greek. Modern Greek usage can be traced in the Byzantine period, as early as the 11th century. It is a language used by the modern Greeks, and apart from a standard modern Greek, there are several dialects of it. The official language of Greece is Greek, spoken by 99% of the population. In addition, a number of non-official minority languages and some Greek dialects are spoken as well. The most common foreign language learned by Greeks are English, German, French, and people. It comes to how when it comes to how many people speaks Greek in Greece. In total, we can estimate there are around 10.7 million people, which is almost the entirety of the country. Greece has by far the most Greek speakers of any country in the world. Uh, Semantic Greek is also the official language of Greece. And the difficulty of the language. Greek is a relatively difficult language to master, even more so for for English speakers, but it's still easier to learn than Russian or Arabic. The reason many English speakers find Greek to be so difficult is that it is not closely related to the English language.
And um, Greek is Greece has high context culture, so they mainly rely on um, like cues, and because they have less reliance on direct verbal communication, and this indicates a high context culture. Even though they are collectivists, they are still indirect with people while communicating, because they kind of assume that the people they communicate with are of the same culture. And the history of violence Greek people had to endure kind of relates to how thoughtful they are when they portray their messages. So they have a lot of emotions in their speeches, and you can get a lot of context from those cues rather than direct words. If someone used more intense tones of speech, then you would perceive how they want their message to be interpreted. And so they would go farther into different topics rather than saying like the point of what they're wanting to say. Next, please. And formality measures in Greek language is that formality is less seen with people of youth age. So when someone is older, one expects them to address them with their full name. And spoken language is valued more, since Greek people have a big preference to power in socialization and having social groups and getting strength from them. Politeness is indicated by tone, face expression, and gestures, as seen in these pictures. And there is less of an indication of formality through grammar. It's mainly by tone. Next, please. Greek words that are untranslatable. The first one here is philotimo, and that is when in the first part of it you can see it means honor, and the first part means friend, and then the second part means honor. So this word means respect and love for honor. What it means to do whatever it takes to do what is right, since that's a duty, and demonstrating a hopeful faith in humanity. So it's very it's a broad perspective on the world. And kapsura means a burning desire. It's like how much you love somebody and how deep that is. And then the last one is sophrosini. This is a word that explains how one is healthy in both mind and body. So they're at peace with themselves. Next, please. Cultural slogan. The first one here is the tongue has no bones, but bones it crashes. And then I have this picture that states another one, and that means the state of being a friend to strangers. It is an unspoken cultural law that shows generosity and courtesy to strangers. And that basically means hospitality. And then the most common motto in Greece is Eleftheria I Thanatos, and this means freedom or death. This was in history. This was used to overthrow the Ottoman rule, and however it started from songs of resistance that were leaning heavily to excite people for independence, and it means give me liberty, or if not, then death. And how to describe the culture's members? They're very hospitable, and culture insider words for Greek culture is kalos or risate, which means welcome. And then some outsider words that people use to describe them are friendly, talkative, and mysterious. Sapir-Whorf hypotheses. So, how the language affects the mind is through emotions, since ancient Greek has been said to alter the mind and have therapeutic properties. Like it's been said to heal dyslexia a little bit. And anger and many emotions can be woven into the words. Nonverbal communication. Handshakes are commonly used. There's a lot of hand gestures in Greek culture. Proximity is common, and like even in homes, it's no different from public spaces where you're just very close to people and people's things. So one of the hand gestures that are mainly used is mutsa, and this is an insult, and this is just when you put your hand in front of somebody's face. And a lot of other things are also a lot of other hand gestures are also considered disrespectful, like the ones in these images here. Eye contact. It is a it is a good thing to maintain eye contact with somebody you're having a conversation with. It means kindness and sincerity in your communication. And for nodding, there's a specific way they nod. A no is like one head tilt backwards, and a yes is one tilt forwards. So because of this, verbal communication is something that they rely on more rather than that. And silence is like one thing that they do is that they exhale after a compliment, but an exhale is not offensive. It just means that it may mean that they are warding off jealous spirits. And then time is they don't really they're not very punctual, and gifts shouldn't be expensive, and it's common. Okay. They are very open to affection. Hugs and kisses are normalized, as seen through the previous slide of them not really caring about wariness of proximity. So touches are common on body parts, and this can indicate a more emphasized way of like whatever messages you want to say.
Okay. Oh,
Sorry.
that's good. All right. So values, identity, family structure, and conflict. Government structure. The ancient Greeks were the first to create a democracy. It's the first known democracy in the world was in Athens. Athenian democracy developed around the 5th century BCE. In Athens, all adult citizens were required to take an active part in the government. If they did not fulfill their duty, they would be fined. The Athenian definition of citizens was different from modern day citizens. Only free men were considered citizens in Athens. Women, children, and slaves were not considered citizens, which meant they were not allowed to vote. Individualism versus collectivism. The culture is more collective. There is a strong loyalty shown towards family and social groups. The social life of many Greeks is usually kept to a close circle of family and friends. These personal relationships are very important to people's day-to-day lives. This interdependence has been largely driven by necessity because the government cannot always be relied upon to provide support. And family structure, most Greeks live as nuclear families in a single household. However, the extended family is kept close and visited often. In some cases, more than two generations may live together. This usually occurs when aging grandparents have moved in and need to be cared for by the family unit. Nursing homes and residential care are viewed negatively. If family members lived in a nursing home, their children are expected to. All right, masculinity versus femininity. Greek society has been traditionally male dominated. Women in the ancient Greek had no political rights of any kind and were controlled by men. They were not able to vote, own land, or inherit. A woman's place was in the home, and their purpose in life was to raise children. Today, women have been able to hold public office since they gained the right to vote in 1952. However, politics is still a male dominated pursuit, and women still struggle with gender roles inside their homes.
For uncertainty avoidance in Greek culture, there is still wariness over a lot of certain situations that are unknown to them, and they actually have the highest score in uncertainty avoidance with a score of 100 over 100 as seen in the graph here. And because a low tolerance to uncertainty means avoidance, and that's what this is. And this relates to their orientation towards the past, because they're not comfortable with newer situations. Time orientation. There is more of a reference to the past, so especially in moments inside of homes, like it's informal to question a Greek person's thoughts about their neighboring countries because of past history of events that have affected their nation, and that kind of shows how it affects the future now. So there's a strong resistance to alterations. So that means there's less change, and common use of formality when interacting with others is a cultural norm, and that kind of relates to how persistent they are of uncertainty avoidance because of how much formality is used. Conflicts currently. One of the conflicts is lack of health care because of poorly managed management, and there's too many expectations because of how overregulated it all is. So in this picture, like we can see the National Health Service, it needs help. And social welfare, they're dealing with this though through the process of social change. You can see this from the social security system being changed, and people can change their investment profiles now once every 3 years. And with this, they can get help with healthcare, maternity, and unemployment benefits. And money stability, they get help from this now from pension systems, and these are provided by public funds for permanent residents. And there are also different categories for people who earn less or more money, and now there's also a new mandatory retirement account. Thank you. U.S. agreement with Greece. So this past event kind of relates to how much help Greek got from USA since they signed an agreement in Athens in June 22, 1993. And this developed the social security system that exists there. With this, there are a lot of benefits that happened. Thank you.
For emerging popular, modern culture, folk culture, and traditions. So, popular Greek industries, one is agriculture. So, Greece is the leading producer of olives with about 2,232,414 metric tons of olive oil, and with around 344,000 olive oil. And Greece is a major agricultural producer in the European Unions, and the sector employs about 582,000 people, which is about 12% of the workforce in the country. Agriculture in this country is valued at 16 billion, and in 2010, leading producers of cotton in the United European Union with 183,800 tons of cotton. Another popular industry is tourism. So, critical role in the economy. and it accounts for about 25% of the country's GDP. In 2018, the country attracted 24 million tourists, making it one of the most visited nations in Europe and in the world at large. There are between 1,200 to 6,000 islands in Greece, and some of the most popular are Athens, Mykonos, Santorini, Corfu, Rhodes. Forgive me if I say this wrong. And the next one is mining. So mining different minerals has been a long history and dates back to 1000 BCE. As of 2015, it's the seventh leading exporter of pumice in the world, and it's the world's largest producer of perlite. They produce 1% of the total bauxite in the world and is only about 9% of all of the bentonite that is produced total in the world. Greece's most popular achievements and inventions. So some of the greatest achievements that Greek are known for is the investigation of the water mill, water clock, torsion catapult, odometer, and screw press. Greece's main industries are tourism, shipping, industrial products, food, tobacco, processing, textiles, chemicals, metal products, mining, and petroleum. And Greece's GDP growth has also an average since the early 1900s and has been getting higher in the European Union. Greek resistance. The Greek resistance happened during World War II, involving armed and unarmed groups from across the political spectrum that resisted the axis of occupation of Greece. The rise of the resistance movements in Greece was precipitated by the invasion of the occupation of Greece by the Nazi in Germany from 1941 to 1944. So Greece's influence on the United States. So the Greeks have influenced American culture through their language, agriculture, and theater. Ancient Greeks were the first people to start theater, and it's still popular today through stage theater and movies. The U.S. chose to structure based off of the representative democracy, which means voting on behalf of citizens, and they represent in Congress. And an important ancient Greek concept that influenced the formation of the United States government, and it was the written constitution. And the original U.S. voting system had some similarities with Athens. Diffusion does apply to Greek culture because it was diffused into ancient Rome. There are 4 features that Romans adopted as their own: agricultural, writing, art, and mythology. The United in the First Council of Greece in 1837, following Greece's independence from the Ottoman Empire and establishing relations with Greece in 1868 after the World War II. The U.S. contributes hundreds of millions of dollars to rebuild Greece's buildings, agriculture, and industries as part of the Marshall Plan.
So for traditional and folk Greek art, we're going to talk about dance first. The dance I want to talk about is the Pentazoli. It's a fast-paced dance that originated in Crete. Legend has it that when Turkish armies sailed to Crete in order to crush the popular rebellions, the Cretans would dance the Pentazoli and the Turkish would flee because they thought the dancers were demonic. It was even thought that it was a dance sent from the god. Before battle, the Cretans danced in order to demoralize opposing armies. According to Gabi and Carola, the Pentazoli is purely material dance, performed only by men, that declares the uprising, heroism, and hope of the Cretans. Traditional and folk Greek arts. So this is the art in the Hellenistic period. Greek art influenced artists all over the world and continues to influence art to this day. The Hellenistic period was richly diverse in subject matter and in stylistic development, and it was subject matters like children, elderly people, and naked people. Next slide, please. So, traditional and folk Greek arts, architecture. Greek architects provided some of the finest and most distinctive buildings in the entire ancient world, and some of their structures, such as temples, theaters, and stadiums, would become staple features of towns and cities. from antiquity onwards. And the first picture is the Parthenon, and the second picture is the ancient theater of Epidarius. Traditional and folk Greek arts for clothing. So, clothing was usually handmade, and the same piece of homespun fabric could be a piece consisted of two main garments: a tunic, either a peplos or a chiton, and a cloak. The peplos was simply a large rectangle of heavy fabric, usually wool, folded over along the upper edge so that the overfold would reach the waist. The chiton was made of a much lighter material, usually imported linen. So the first Greek text I want to talk about is the Odyssey. The Odyssey is an epic, which is a very long poem on a single subject. The journey of Odysseus from Troy to Ithaca takes 10 years, the same amount of time that the Trojan War lasted. The length of Odysseus's return trip um, took really long because he had many enemies, including the god Poseidon and many mythical creatures that he had to encounter. The second Greek cultural text I want to talk about is Pandora's box, which wasn't actually a box. It was a like vase type. So after Prometheus gave fire to the humans, Zeus got angry and he wanted vengeance. So he ordered the god of fire to create the first human woman out of soil and water. Each god gave this woman a gift. Athena gave her wisdom, Aphrodite beauty, Hermes cunning, and then so on. And the name of the woman was Pandora. And inside the box was all of the evils of the world. So the Greek celebration I want to focus on is Oxy Day. Oxy Day is also referred to the Day of No, which is, we heard it from Vanessa in the beginning. It's an important part of modern Greek history, celebrated annually on Wednesday, October 28th. It marks the day when the Greek prime minister rejected an ultimatum given by the Italian dictator Benito Mussolini during World War II. The other celebration I want to talk about is Independence Day. Greek Independence Day is a national holiday celebrated annually in Greece on March 25th. It commemorates the start of the war on Greek independence in 1821. It 100,000 people attending every year. So one of the favorite foods I want to talk about of Greek is probably the most famous. It's called moussaka, and it consists of layers of fried aubergine, which is eggplant, and minced meat and potatoes. It's all topped off with a creamy sauce and then baked until golden brown. And the next food I want to talk about is a dessert. So it is called locomores, and they're small fried donut like balls drenched in honey syrup and sprinkled with various toppings like cinnamon or crushed walnuts. People usually order a big plate of them to share with their family or friends.
And
And
this our word signing. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
Thank
watching.
you.
thank you for watching our
Thank you for
presentation.
watching.
Thank you.
Mm.